The morning air outside the courthouse in downtown Atlanta carried the kind of tension that clung to the skin like humidity before a thunderstorm. The marble steps gleaming beneath the pale sunlight, while dozens of people shuffled through the metal detectors and security lines, lawyers with leather briefcases, defendants in wrinkled suits, reporters whispering into phones. But none of them noticed the moment that would soon explode across the entire country. Before we begin, take a second and subscribe because stories like this reveal how power, prejudice, and karma collide in ways you won't believe. And trust me, the ending of this one will leave you stunned. Officer Daniel Harwood had been working courthouse security for the past 3 months after a disciplinary transfer from patrol, though he told everyone it was temporary duty, the kind of thing a good cop like him shouldn't have to do. Tall, broad-shouldered, and carrying himself with the stiff arrogance of someone who believed the badge alone commanded respect, Harwood scanned the steps impatiently as the crowd moved in and out. He hated mornings like this. Too many people, too many attitudes, as he called them. That was when he noticed her. She was walking up the courthouse steps calmly, wearing a simple navy coat and carrying a leather folder under her arm. To anyone else, she looked like just another professional heading to work. Mid-40s, composed, confident. But to Harwood, something about her immediately irritated him. Maybe it was the way she walked straight past the long security line, heading toward the side entrance reserved for court officials. "Hey, you there!" Harwood barked, his voice cutting through the morning chatter. The woman stopped and turned slowly, meeting his glare with steady eyes. "Yes, officer?" she said calmly. "The line's back there," Harwood snapped, pointing aggressively toward the crowd. "Everyone goes through security." The woman glanced toward the entrance, then back at him. "I'm aware of the security procedure," she replied politely. "I'm heading to—" "I don't care where you're heading," Harwood interrupted sharply. "You think the rules don't apply to you?" A few people nearby began to watch, sensing the confrontation. The woman remained composed. "Officer, if you'll allow me to explain—" "I already know what you're trying to pull," Harwood scoffed, stepping closer. "You people always think you can just walk past everyone." The phrase hung in the air, heavy with implication. Several bystanders exchanged uncomfortable glances. The woman's expression hardened slightly, though her voice remained even. "Officer, I suggest you reconsider how you're speaking to me." But Harwood had already decided she was disrespecting him. In his mind, the situation was simple. She was another arrogant civilian refusing to follow orders. "You suggest?" he said with a mocking laugh. "Lady, the only suggestion here is you get in line." She stood still for a moment, studying him carefully, as if weighing whether the situation was worth escalating. "Officer Harwood," she said quietly, reading his name tag. "This interaction is unnecessary." The sound of his name coming from her lips felt like a challenge. "Don't tell me what's unnecessary," he snapped, stepping directly in front of her to block the entrance. "Either you get in line or you leave." At that moment, a courthouse clerk walking by paused, eyes widening, as she recognized the woman. But before she could say anything, Harwood reached out and grabbed the woman's arm. "I said move," he growled. The woman pulled her arm back instinctively. "Do not touch me." The words were firm now, carrying authority. But Harwood's temper had already crossed the line between frustration and anger. In one sudden motion, fueled by the arrogance of someone convinced he would never face consequences, he slapped her across the face. The sound cracked against the stone steps like a gunshot. For a moment, the entire courthouse entrance fell silent. Phones slowly began to lift as people realized what they had just witnessed. The woman did not scream. She did not retaliate. She simply turned her head back toward him, eyes steady, cheek reddening where his hand had struck her. And then she spoke 4 quiet words that made the color drain from the face of the courthouse clerk standing nearby. "You just made history," Harwood scoffed, though a flicker of uncertainty crossed his mind. "Yeah? What's that supposed to mean?" The clerk stepped forward nervously. "Officer, that's Judge Carter." Harwood blinked. "What?" "Judge Evelyn Carter," the clerk repeated, her voice shaking slightly. "She's presiding over courtroom 4 this morning." The silence that followed felt like gravity collapsing inward. Judge Evelyn Carter. The name hit Harwood like a hammer, but he still didn't fully grasp the disaster unfolding around him. "Nice try," he muttered dismissively, though his voice had lost some confidence. The judge simply looked at him, then slowly reached into her coat and removed a small identification badge bearing the official seal of the court. She held it up calmly. "Officer Harwood," she said evenly. "I am the presiding judge for the civil rights case scheduled at 9 a.m. this morning." His stomach tightened. The case. His case. 3 months earlier, Harwood had been involved in a controversial arrest caught partially on camera, an arrest that led to a lawsuit accusing him of excessive force and racial discrimination. The trial had been assigned to a newly appointed judge, Judge Evelyn Carter. And now the courtroom doors opened behind them as two attorneys stepped outside, both freezing when they saw the scene unfolding. One of them, a civil rights lawyer named Marcus Bennett, stared at Harwood with disbelief. "Officer," Bennett said slowly, "did you just strike the judge overseeing your trial?" Harwood's mouth opened, but no words came out. Around them, phones were recording everything. Judge Carter adjusted her coat calmly, as though the slap had been nothing more than an inconvenience. But when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "Officer Harwood," she said, "I will see you in my courtroom." The words echoed in his ears as reality finally crashed down around him. But what Harwood didn't yet realize was that the slap he had delivered in arrogance would unravel far more than his case. It would expose a chain of secrets, hidden recordings, and a past connection between him and Judge Carter that would turn the trial into one of the most explosive legal battles the city had ever seen. A battle that would force an entire police department to confront the truth buried beneath years of silence. And as the courthouse doors closed behind them and the courtroom filled with reporters who had already caught wind of the incident spreading across social media, Harwood sat at the defendant's table realizing something chilling. The woman he had just humiliated in public held the power not only to judge his case, but to reveal the past he thought had been buried forever.